Welcome back to another episode of In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, founder and CEO of academia.edu. And as always, I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a thoughtful dive into the world of academic research and, in this case, into something a little different, a book review, but one that's deeply rooted in sociological inquiry and spiritual reflection. Today, we're exploring The Monk Who Gambled on the Game of Life, Swami Satyananda, A Life Between Extremes, a powerful biography by Suresh Soni. Now, before we go any further, let me say, everything I'm sharing is a neutral presentation of the author's point of view. I'm not here to endorse, critique, or debate, just to give you an honest sense of what the book aims to communicate and why it might matter for you. So, what's the core question, the beating heart of Suresh Soni's book? Here's what's at stake. What does it really mean to seek an authentic spiritual life in a world overflowing with both genuine seekers and, self-styled godmen? How do we tell the difference between sincere renunciation and spiritual exploitation? And is it possible, in today's world, to walk the tightrope between worldly duties and soulful longing without losing yourself in the process? Why is this significant? You don't have to look far, just scroll through any news feed to see stories of so-called gurus, spiritual leaders, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The commercialization of faith, the rise of spiritual conmen, and a public hungry for meaning. It's a potent mix, and it shapes how we understand both individual fulfillment and larger social dynamics. These aren't just abstract debates, they influence how millions of people search for meaning, community, and, even identity. Diving into the story, the book follows the remarkable yet tragic journey of Swami Satyananda. Born Satyananda Soni in Delhi, 1947, Satyananda's life is painted as a restlessly searching soul, dissatisfied with studies and work, seeking meaning beyond the ordinary. Influenced by the hippie movement and the counterculture of the 1970s, he renounced his family life and became a sadhu, a spiritual ascetic, embarking on what he hoped would be a path toward clarity and peace. Now, here's what really stands out in Soni's telling. Unlike many who saw opportunity in the robes of a godman, Satyananda refused to exploit faith for fame or profit. Despite chances to capitalize on a growing culture of spiritual commercialization, he stuck to his principles, trying instead to revive Vedic knowledge, publishing spiritual tracts called Revival. The book presents him as a man striving for authenticity, even as his efforts met mostly indifference, skepticism, and in the end, sadly, personal decline due to disillusionment and substance abuse. One of the strengths of this narrative is that it humanizes a spiritual seeker. It doesn't hide Satyananda's flaws or idealize his choices. You see his hope, his idealism, his pain, his, maybe naivete, and you see a broader commentary on how post-independence India became a landscape for both genuine searching and rampant spiritual tourism. But there's more. The book is, at its core, a passionate critique of self-styled godmen. Soni doesn't mince words. He argues that the commodification of spirituality, the creation of gurus for hire, has distorted the lofty ideals of faith and made people easy targets for exploitation. The narrative even calls for government action to protect the vulnerable, regulate the space, and restore public trust in genuine spiritual practice. Now, I want to remind you again, I'm just sharing what's in the book. I'm not endorsing regulatory solutions or any particular worldview. The most compelling takeaways, though, might be the questions the book raises rather than the answers it provides. What is true spiritual success? Can we, or should we, measure it using familiar benchmarks? Money, followers, influence, or does it lie somewhere else? Maybe in resilience, honesty, even in a willingness to fail honestly? For anyone listening, whether you're personally on a quest or just curious about why these stories matter to people, these are questions worth chewing on. There's a digression here that the book kind of, unintentionally sparked for me. You know how sometimes late at night you're watching old interviews with, jazz musicians or poets, and you realize they spent their whole lives trying to get to some pure note or idea, and maybe they never arrived, but the searching itself was kind of the point. Anyway, that's not really in the book, but it made me think, wrapping things up, the book situates Satyananda's journey as a mirror for all of us, his struggles raising real questions about family, freedom, integrity, and what it means to seek meaning in a messy, complicated world. Suresh Soni doesn't shy away from the pain or the paradoxes.